Good morning and welcome to MWC Africa. I'm Ashley Onyango, Head of Financial Inclusion and Agri-Tech with GSMA. I'm thrilled to have you tuning in from around the world today for this session, Enabling Financial Services with Mobile Money, Emerging Innovations in Africa. Without a doubt, mobile money has changed the financial landscape in Africa, bringing millions of previously unbanked people into the formal financial system and offering, for the first time, financial solutions that meet their needs. The industry reached great heights in 2020 with 1.2 billion registered accounts globally, and the value of mobile money transactions now exceeding $2 billion a day. If you joined us yesterday, you heard that Africa is home to 171 mobile money services, over half of the global services available today, and accounts for over 500 million registered accounts. Africa has been and continues to be leading the way in mobile money adoption and usage. It is therefore no surprise that it is also a hub for innovation and pushing the frontier of what is possible for mobile money-enabled services. By unlocking the opportunity for those previously unreached by the formal banking system to open a digital financial account through their mobile phones, making person-to-person transactions, visiting an agent close to their homes to cash in and cash out, we have unlocked the potential to serve this community with so much more. While the journey has begun, we still have a ways to go and a lot to learn. Many opportunities remain to unlock access to life-changing mobile money-enabled services, building resilience of the world's most vulnerable. The COVID-19 pandemic has exposed the financial vulnerabilities of low-income people and SMEs around the world. Adjacent financial services, such as credit, savings, and insurance, can help to rebuild personal finances and livelihoods, and have proven essential in delivering life-saving benefits and restoring financial stability. Besides improving resilience and providing a safety net to their users, services such as digital credit, savings and insurance, and other areas of innovation are also key to mobile money providers, as revenue diversification becomes pressing in light of evolving trends that are challenging the business model of mobile money providers. This diversification needs to be in the interest of both providers and the recipients of new services, as a means to ensure sustainability and lasting impact. In a short while, I will introduce you to a distinguished panel consisting of African tech innovators, NC Buko and eProd Solutions, and BFA Global, an investor and ecosystem accelerator. During this panel discussion, we will highlight examples of emerging innovations that leverage mobile money for financial inclusion, exploring the role of mobile money providers and other ecosystem actors, from financial services providers to companies in the agricultural sector, in the journey from innovation to scale. But before that, I am delighted to first introduce you to our keynote presentation, where we will learn about Vodacom Tanzania's pathway to innovation, from digitized savings to digitized farming. Sharing with us is Arjun Dhillon, the Chief Officer, Vodacom Business with Vodacom Tanzania. Arjun leads the Vodacom Tanzania Enterprise Business Unit, ensuring delivery of the organization's enterprise strategy and revenue for Vodacom. Arjun is a seasoned professional in revitalizing organizations by translating abstract concepts, theories, and methodologies into simple but effective programs that people can believe in and are ready to work hard to achieve. He has experience in formulating market-disrupting strategies, driving demand, and building successful, profitable organizations. Prior to joining Vodacom, Arjun worked with some of the largest telecoms in Africa and Asia to execute enterprise strategies and revenue generation. Arjun, thank you for joining us and welcome. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Ashley. Thank you for the detailed introduction. And good morning, everybody who's watching this stream. Some of you may be in various parts of the world where it's not morning right now, but whatever it is, wish you. I hope all of you are keeping well and safe. So, as Ashley, I think, started off by giving a background on what I'm going to be talking about. Mobile money in East Africa has been around in existence for quite a while, over a decade now. East Africa is one of the more penetrated parts of Africa for mobile money. Tanzania being one of the most successful operations for mobile money in Africa. In Tanzania, M-Pesa's journey started in the year 2008, and since then we have seen M-Pesa evolve from largely what started off as a person-to-person transfer tool, which just enabled people to send money from one person to the other across the country. It's evolved from there to being today one of the key financial services provider to a large part of the country. We today are proud to be one of the leading mobile money operators in the country. And along with this evolution, we have embarked on a journey to transform M-Pesa to moving on from a person-to-person service to becoming a complete 360-degree financial service solution for people, especially for people who are at the lower end of the spectrum, people who are unbanked, people who today have very limited access to financial services. So I'm going to talk about some of the initiatives that we are doing and we plan to do over the next few years. The first one is group saving. This is most of you watching probably aware. In Africa, group saving is a big concept. People like to save, come together in groups and save money as well as borrow money. Later today, we have a product called Mkoba, which we have been able to digitize savings of about 50,000 groups across the country. The good news here is 56% of these groups of the people participating in this product are women. And another important aspect of this is small businesses and informal businesses are the largest participants in this product. To get products like this to be successful, another important aspect is getting on board partners who share the same vision and also ready to support in getting such products to succeed. We are really thankful to a lot of partners which we have worked with across the NGO space, the government, people like FSDT, GSMA, who've been supporting us through this journey for Mkoba that today at least has a wide penetration amongst 50,000 odd groups that are saving here. The second solution that we have been working on for the past 4 or 5 years is to digitize the payment systems for SMEs. SMEs, as most of you are aware, account for a large part of the businesses in Africa. In Tanzania, they account for over 95% of the formally registered businesses. We have, over the last few years, been able to bring on board a lot of these SMEs to digitize their payments through our Lipa solution, where you can collect, transfer money for your business seamlessly and digitally. Today, we have over 50,000 Lipa merchants in Tanzania. These are SMEs, small businesses, retail shops that today represent a large part of the GDP and are now coming onto the formal financial sector. We are also here working with many organizations like TAN Trade or various SACCOs that these SMEs group together with, and trying to digitize them. So today we've started with the journey of collection of payments. Going forward, we would like to get into providing financial services to these SMEs and also an end-to-end solution to take payments right up to the large businesses where these SMEs are buying from. They're able to disperse seamlessly within the M-Pesa ecosystem, which not only provides them with visibility of their payments, which also brings them into the financial ecosystem, makes them more eligible for lending, and also provides an aspect of security for their money. The third part of digitizing a value chain is something we have partnered and worked closely with GSMA as well as various other agri fintechs. Mercy Core has been helpful. The government of Tanzania has been extremely helpful as well. Is the agriculture platform called Mkulima. This platform is an end-to-end solution for both from registering a farmer to tracking the crops of the farmers to providing advisory services to the farmers, and in the end to connect them to the right buyer as well as facilitate the payments back down to the farmer. This product we recently launched. It's just 2 years old. We today have close to 150,000 registered farmers. We have dispersed over 5 billion worth of payments through this platform to farmers. And we have a big aim of connecting a million farmers onto this platform in the next few years. This, once you connect a million farmers, the impact on the ecosystem would take it up to close to 4-5 million farmers and businesses that would be impacted because of this product. This particular segment of the business community is something are people who till now were very have limited or absolutely zero access to financial services. This could be a way to really transform both their productivity as well as the price that the farmers receive from the buyers. Lastly, I'd like to talk about something which most of you are probably aware of. This is just connecting as many people as possible on smartphones and on a 4G network. Today, Tanzania has a lower 4G penetration compared to a few other countries in the region. We have been working with the handset suppliers, device manufacturers, as well as social media platforms, internet companies, to be able to bring more and more people onto smartphones. We have successfully been able to provide subsidies on thousands of smartphones over the last few years. We're looking at connecting 5 million additional smartphones on our network in the next couple of years. This would be the base enabler for us to succeed on all our other services that we aim to provide, digital services to our customers. Here, I'd like to just end by showing a short video on our agriculture solution, which is the Mkulima platform, and just show how it has transformed the lives of some farmers that were impacted by it.
Mkoa wetu una vitu vingi ambavyo vinaweza vikawa ni access kwa Watanzania kuja kuwekeza. Tumeona wenzetu wa Vodacom wamefikia wakulima wengi. Ninaamini kwamba kwenye miaka mitatu matarajio ya mkoa wa Simiyu kuona wakulima wote wamedigitalize kilimo kikiwa kwenye kiganja chao, litakuwa ni jambo ambalo tutakuwa tumefanikiwa kwa kiwango kikubwa.
Kulipwa hela kwenye simu imesaidia kwanza ule upotevu, kule kuibiwa, na pale utauza pamba yako, hela utaingiziwa kwenye simu yako. Hakuna mtu atakayekutolea simu halafu akatoa hela.
Ukiangalia huko nyuma, miaka ya nyuma, fedha tunachukua mjini. Kwa lazima tuende Mwanza, tunachukua zile fedha, nikumbuka ni kilomita zaidi ya 120 kutokea Mwanza, nasafiri na zile hela nyingi. Kwa riski yake ilikuwa ni kubwa. Lakini tuna njia tunayotumia tuna kodi ndege, tuna uwanja wetu wa ndege hapa, lakini gharama ya kukodi ndege ni kubwa. Kwa huu mfumo tunaushukuru umekuja kutoa hizo riski pamoja na gharama nyingine ambazo zilikuwa sio za lazima.
Swala likubwa sana ambalo tunaliona la haraka ni kwamba mkulima anapouza mazao yake angependa alipwe haraka. Serikali ilisema wakulima walipwe cashless. Makampuni kama Alliance General na kadhalika ambao tumefanya nao kazi kwa karibu sana, wameweza kuwalipa wakulima sasa kwenye simu zao. Zaidi ya shilingi bilioni 3 zimeshalipwa kwa wakulima kwenye simu zao, na wakulima wameweza kuzitoa kwenye mawakala wetu ambao wameenea mkoa mzima.
Mkulima, kilimo cha kisasa.
Kilimo cha kisasa.
Mkulima, kilimo cha kisasa.
With that brings me to the end of my presentation. Thank you all for joining in and listening. Over to you, Ashley.
Thank you so much, Arjun. It's really great to hear the operator perspective on the opportunities to build upon traditional mobile money use cases to enable financial services. And I liked a phrase you used early on in your speech around 360 degrees financial services. With that, I am pleased to welcome our panelists to the screen for the next part of this session. As previously mentioned, this is a discussion on digital innovations enabling financial inclusion in the region. What do they need to achieve scale? So welcome everyone, and thank you for joining me today. As we get started, I'm actually just going to ask each of you to briefly introduce yourselves to the audience to let them know who you are and the business that you are representing today. So we'll start with Jan Willem.
Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jan Willem van Kasteren. I'm the founder, CEO of eProd Solutions, a company that offers a supply chain management platform for agriculture.
Thank you. And I'm going to turn to Matt.
Great, thanks, Ashley. I'm Matt Grasser. I'm a principal consultant at BFA Global. We work with technology and financial tools to improve financial health, resilience, and overall well-being of low-income individuals and businesses in emerging markets. I'm also a portfolio manager at Catalyst Fund, which is an accelerator managed by BFA Global that supports inclusive tech innovators like fintechs, digital commerce players, agri-tech startups, climate action players, and more in emerging markets. Thanks.
Great. Thank you so much, Matt. And last but certainly not least, Gerald, you can introduce yourself to the audience.
Thank you, Ashley. My name is Gerald Otim. I'm the founder and CEO of Empirical. We're a Ugandan fintech that digitizes Africa's credit unions, popularly known as SACCOs, as well as village savings groups. Thank you.
Wonderful. So we're going to jump into some questions and dialogue. And Gerald, I'm going to start with you. So can you kick it off and tell us about your solutions and how Empirical enables the digitization of these non-banking financial institutions that you spoke about, savings and credit cooperative societies, and village savings and loan associations in Uganda?
Thank you. Like I said just a moment ago, Empirical helps digitize Africa's credit unions, also known as SACCOs, as well as village savings groups in Uganda. Through a proprietary microfinance platform, we help SACCOs better manage their savings records and transactions. Through our platform, we're able to digitize all the operations of these savings and credit cooperatives or SACCOs. We allow them, open savings accounts for their members, manage loans, and manage financial reporting to their board, their management, and their regulators. We also provide a smartphone application for village savings groups that offers them an alternative that's better than paper. Traditionally, most savings groups and SACCOs rely on paper to manage their financial records. Through our platforms, village savings groups are now able to use a smartphone application to manage their financial records. We collaborate with MTN and Airtel here in Uganda, and with them we have been able to build mobile money use cases that allows village savings groups and SACCOs, members of village savings groups and SACCOs, to use mobile money to do the things they previously used to do with cash. So using their phone, members of these entities are now able to deposit money into their savings account. They're able to withdraw from their savings account. They're able to repay their loans and able to view their account balance through the teleco's mobile money menu. Now, through this collaboration, we've been able to extend access to affordable and relevant financial services to over 200,000 individuals across Uganda, working with 120 SACCOs and 1,500 village savings groups in Uganda specifically.
Wonderful. Thanks, Gerald. Next, I'm going to turn to you, Jan Willem, and thinking about eProd solutions, your solutions are targeted at agribusinesses. So can you tell us more about your products and what pain points your solutions are specifically addressing?
Thank you, Ashley. So it's very difficult for the tens of thousands of agriculture commodity traders, food processors, farmer cooperatives in Africa to buy from the millions of small-scale farmers in Africa. So we offer a supply chain management platform that will help the SMEs to manage farmer registration, field registration, contracts with farmers, field inspections, collections, payments, communication, training programs, surveys, all these different aspects. So the beauty about eProd is that there are literally hundreds of variables in the system that the buyer, the SME, would collect during the daily operations. You can actually also manage surveys to collect data that of variables which is not per se in the system. And this information is available at field level, farmer level, group level, farmer cooperative, farmer union. Basically, you have 5 different levels in the system. And that information can easily be managed and shared. For example, for monitoring and evaluation, in case an M&E has a project with a development organization, or with financial institutions that need information, for example, for credit scoring. And eProd also, for example, can manage loans, loan repayment, scoring, but it's very easy to integrate this now with specialized financial institutions. And so through eProd, we basically offer a complete solution for SMEs, also to manage the work with other stakeholders in their value chain. At the moment, we are in 18 different countries, of which 15 in Africa. We are in more than 30 different sectors, and the software is available in 9 different languages. Thank you.
Thanks, Jan Willem. I can see that, by digitizing these smallholder value chains, there's a lot of benefit to the farmers when it comes to financial inclusion with the data that you're generating, but it also is creating a lot of efficiency with the agribusinesses themselves. So that's great. Matt, I'm going to turn over to you. You have a different vantage point of the sector. At BFA Global, you work with tech innovators such as Empirical and eProd Solutions to develop viable and scalable solutions. What learnings can you share with us about developing innovative digital financial services with these businesses?
Sure, thanks, Ashley. So we've worked with over 50 startups over the last 5 years or so under the Catalyst Fund family, and also through BFA with incumbent providers and even regulators. And I think there's really 3 main areas that I'd highlight. The first is really getting to know your users. I think there's always an assumption that it's just about pricing and elasticity and these sorts of things. But really, it's not just about pricing. End users of digital products and services, especially historically less digitized areas like savings groups that Empirical serve or the farmers that eProd serves, these users require the offering to be reliable, valuable, accessible, and affordable in that order of priority. So the first 3 are really deal breakers. If something's not reliable, not valuable to the end user, or not accessible, it's really not going to serve them. They're going to just move past it to whatever it is. And I think the pricing is really more of a tiebreaker once you have competing options that meet those other 3 needs. And especially in those journeys where people are going from a non-digital service to a digital service, these factors are especially important. So really knowing your users is the first point. I think the second is working with empirical data. So going with your gut feeling is almost never sufficient. Maybe in the early days when you're just trying to get something off the ground. But for scaling, often it's really important to validate your hypotheses and challenge assumptions that you might have going in to kind of remove biases. And to do that really using your data in an active way to make data front and center in making any decision and force yourself to justify any situation where you might be acting against what the data tells you. This can also help to identify drop-off points for your users along their journey and really kind of step in and support them. And finally, the third point is really around partnerships. So a lot of times startups really want to try to do everything, but really it's important to kind of focus on what you're very best at and partner with others who are the best at what they do. So whether that's something like payments or mobile money or other financial services, whether that's kind of working with free and open source dashboard software rather than rolling your own, these sorts of things. We find that partnerships are a really key factor in this as well.
Thanks, Matt. I have one follow-up question on your second point about testing hypothesis. I'd be curious to know if you've had situations where startups that you're working with have actually moved to different markets after rolling out in one market, and how what advice you'd give them about retesting that hypothesis or going into a new market with the same product?
Yeah, for sure. So we've had, I think almost every startup that we work with have ambitions to either go, Pan-African or global or whatever. So we've seen startups out of Silicon Valley trying to enter into Kenya. We've seen something a little closer, which is like Nigerian startups trying to enter into Ghana. In every case, we really advocate for testing your biases and making sure you're generating new evidence, maybe starting with the basis of expertise in the area that you started in, but not taking anything for granted. So making sure that you're watching for distinctions, you're watching for feedback from the users that might indicate major differences in behavior or expectations or just generally the market.
Great, thanks. Gerald and Jan Willem, I'm going to throw this next one out to both of you. Having heard the keynote from Arjun from Vodacom Tanzania, do you see an opportunity to build partnerships with mobile money providers to scale up digital financial services? And if so, really, what are the key success factors in that type of a partnership? So maybe we can start with you, Jan Willem.
Thank you. Yes, definitely. Platforms like the Vodacom platform are very interesting for us. Directly, of course, with the Lipa platform, but also with Mukulima platform, I'm sure there's a lot of overlap. And what is critical is, of course, that API integrations are possible. GSMA is actually directly supporting us in this field. GSMA have played an important role to standardize also the protocols, especially for mobile payment providers and the banking industry in general. So definitely there would be interesting possibilities. For example, it's quite easy for platforms like ours to do bulk payments, either through bank or mobile payments. That is not so difficult, but to make sure that there is an integration, for example, to see the balances of account in our platform, so you can check it before you make a payment, things like that. That really requires the APIs. And with Vodacom, with support from GSMA, we are able to really optimize and build very relevant solutions for this.
Great, thanks, Jan Willem. Gerald, thoughts?
Yeah, thank you. Like Matt said, accessibility is one very critical factor if we're scaling access to financial services, especially in rural areas and to smallholder farmers. And one of the key benefits that telecos bring is infrastructure and reach. And by reach, I'm talking about how extended their agent network is. In Uganda's case specifically, there is a mobile money agent. Almost every in urban places, it's about every 5 meters. There's a mobile money agent, and in every village in Uganda there is a mobile money agent. So they have reach and they have infrastructure, and these are two critical factors for scaling digital financial services in rural areas. From the keynote presentation, Vodafone, one of their focus areas is savings groups. And this is one of the markets that we serve directly. And, it's not just for Vodafone. We've seen, even here in Uganda, a lot of telecos now have started to build, mobile money use cases around savings groups. And I think that this is actually one area where there is, a lot of opportunities for collaboration in digitizing processes for village savings groups, but also digitizing payments and how village savings groups are able to collect savings and also how they're able to pay out loans and withdrawals for their members. So, in Uganda specifically, through the support of GSMA, we have already been able to collaborate with MTN and Airtel, and we've built some very interesting use cases using mobile money for these kinds of groups. I think that there is potential, to replicate these use cases in other markets as well. Tanzania definitely is, one market of interest for us. And the East African region generally is a market of interest to us. We have also been looking into Zambia and Malawi, and also looking a bit more into Nigeria and Ethiopia. So I think that, you know, we could leverage a lot on collaborations with telcos to take this solution into other markets.
Great, thanks, Gerald. And Matt, back to your investor viewpoint, you know, how is BFA Global, the Catalyst Fund, supporting the kind of innovations discussed today, and where do you see the main financing gaps currently?
Yeah, good question. I think going back to like my very first project ever at BFA, I was working actually with non-digital savings groups in rural Tanzania and seeing how that digitization journey happens. So I think like really bringing to the forefront the idea that not disrupting the choreography or the kind of way that people are interacting organically without technology involved is a really critical factor, and we try to bring that all the way through. But in terms of the support that we're doing, I think, of course, we're involved in funding for startups, which is always the initial attraction when you're trying to just create more runway and make sure you survive another few months and grow. But I think also at the end of the day, I think one of the things that people really raise as valuable about the Catalyst Fund program is the bespoke venture acceleration. So we bring a global set of world-class specialists to kind of diagnose pain points and collaboratively experiment with the startups that we work with in areas like I mentioned, so data and analytics, know your users, kind of growth strategy and partnerships, investment readiness, these sorts of areas. We'll spend 2 to 4 weeks on some of these areas and really dive deeply and challenge the existing kind of assumptions in those areas. So that bespoke kind of venture acceleration is really where we see the most value, and all of these, like many of these startups go on to raise follow-on funding as a result of that. So the initial grant funding isn't necessarily the main value. It's just kind of the hook. I think, yeah, in terms of gaps, financing gaps, we like to refer to this phenomenon called like the valley of death. So we meet a lot of startups who have demonstrated initial traction with end users. They've proven their model to some extent, but they've begun to outgrow most kind of grant funds or seed funds, incubator programs, and these sorts of things. So they're kind of too big for a lot of the initial funding opportunities that they used, but not yet meeting all of the kind of due diligence needs or scale needs of venture capitalists, institutional investors, and this sort of thing. So we tend to like to play in that financing gap to bridge that growth journey for startups from this initial kind of early stage seed funding all the way up to kind of growth stage and really running with what they've got. And what we look for across these programs, I think, is really like Catalyst Fund. It's similar to the ideas that we talked about earlier, but Catalyst Fund Inclusive FinTech Accelerator focuses on something we call AAA, so companies that are accessible, affordable, and appropriate for what they're doing. And then in some of the other programs, like the Inclusive Digital Commerce program that we're running in Ghana right now, we're looking for kind of companies that are growth stage, have achieved product market fit, and meet some set of impact indicators. So in this case, ability to grow informal MSEs, serving women and youth, these sorts of things. So yeah, generally there's some mixture of product is at a good stage, company has the right vision, and there's impact opportunities there as well.
Great, thanks, Matt. I'm going to pop in one question from the audience quickly before we kind of run to our last question for all of you. And this is for Gerald. So what are the challenges women's village savings groups face as they digitize their activities? Has NCBUCO identified these, and how has it helped them?
Thank you, Ashley. So I think generally, you know, women in savings groups face a lot of challenges, but I will, you know, focus a lot more on challenges that are directly related to their journey towards digitization. And, you know, there is a couple of them, but I'll focus on two. One is the level of phone ownership. We require that at least that the group owns at least one smartphone for them to for us to be able to support them digitize. There's a requirement that they have at least one smartphone for the secretary of the group. And, you know, generally, phone ownership in these communities is low, and it's even worse for women, because in these kinds of community phone ownership or phone ownership in general, the men tend to own the phone of the household. So a lot of men are quite uncomfortable with women actually owning a phone, especially if it's a smartphone, because of the variety of other things that you're able to do with smartphones, and the cultural constructions around that has made it quite difficult for women to outrightly own a phone. So what we do, and what I think for us, this probably just happens. It's not deliberate, but we found that we found that when you create the idea that the phone actually belongs to the group, that collective ownership of the phone is actually something that has worked, because then when a man finds out that his wife, who is the secretary of the group, has a phone, and if he knows that the phone actually belongs to the group and doesn't belong to the woman specifically, then the level of resistance is quite low. So we found that collective ownership of a phone actually does help significantly, and we encourage groups to acquire the phone or buy the phone collectively as a group. The other challenge has been in terms of digital skills. The level of digital skills amongst women is generally low. This year, in partnership with GSMA, we rolled out a digital skilling program for women, for savings groups generally, and women, of course, have been the biggest beneficiaries of this through a network of digital agents who are digital companions for VSLAs. We are now able to provide digital skills training for VSLA leaders of these savings groups. We have also built an e-learning platform on the VSLA application, where leaders of these groups are able to access learning resources, and we are currently using GSMA's MIST tool, which provides skills training on internet skills, basic internet skills for women, and we found this to be extremely useful. We are very early stages of it, but so far it looks to be quite promising.
Great, thanks so much, Gerald. So I'm going to throw out one final kind of rapid fire question to each of you. We've talked a lot about partnerships, and this has kind of been a common thread from even Arjun's keynote to each of your topics that you've discussed. So reaching rural communities in low and middle income countries with digital financial services requires cross-sector partnerships between agricultural sector organizations and financial services providers. These partnerships can be complex to form and challenging to maintain. So in a kind of a 30-second response, give me your views on what are the key ingredients of a sustainable partnership. Can I maybe start with Jan Willem?
Right, thanks, Ashley. So I think it is to manage these complex partnerships, it is important that different stakeholders in the value chain can partner, of course, can benefit, that they all have their own role, their own incentives to participate. So in the case of eProd, we have an ERP, enterprise resource planning tool, that is very flexible and that allows all the different stakeholders either to receive data or directly receive communication through SMS, for example. We link to financial institutions, but also on the side of financial institutions, to receive information, to take decisions with this information. So I think the appropriate platform is, of course, very important to manage these kind of partnerships.
Great. Matt, over to you.
Yeah, I think maybe the word empathy comes to mind. I think it's important that when you're forming these partnerships that you're not just seeing all mobile money providers as the same, or like all payments providers or banks as exactly the same as each other with the same needs. I think making sure you're mapping the value of your potential partner and making sure that there's really a mutual benefit there, either in terms of revenue opportunities or reaching farther into the market, or gaining access to additional insights through data or otherwise. I think that idea of empathizing with your partner and really understanding where they're coming from is critical.
Excellent. And last but not least, Gerald, over to you.
Thank you. So for us, partnerships are extremely important in scaling digitization for savings groups. We work entirely, we reach savings groups entirely through partnerships with NGOs and community-based organizations. So it's extremely critical. What we have learned is that it's important that there is buy-in from the very start. And that buy-in doesn't only have to be at a high level. It shouldn't only be buy-in from the leaders of the organization. You also need to get buy-in from people that interact with the farmers and the communities on a daily, field officers, programs people. So, our approach towards this has been mostly, through human-centered design. So involving them in key decision, making key decisions around products and features and things like that, and just making them feel a certain level of ownership over the decisions that we make about the products and, what kind of things we actually are adding on the platform. But we also learned that it's important that you bundle up services for these kinds of partnerships to work. A lot of these organizations want a lot of other benefits. So when you talk about digitization, what we have learned is that digitization on its own is not really the value that you offer, but it's the services and products that you're able to deliver through digitization that actually delivers value. So we have partnered with financial institutions to roll out digital loans. We're now working with the Uganda Development Bank to roll out, digital agricultural loans for village savings groups. We work with solar companies through a digital marketplace on our application to be able to provide, solar kits and solar products. We work with agriculture organizations to provide inputs, and all these kinds of collaborations and partnerships actually provides the kind of value that makes these kinds of partnerships stick. So that's been our learning so far.
Thank you, Gerald. So wrapping up, I just want to thank the three of you, Jan Willem, Gerald, and Matt, as well as Arjun earlier, for joining me today and sharing your perspectives and experiences with mobile money-enabled financial services. There was something that was mentioned today about leveraging the niche expertise of other players in the market and building those partnerships around that, filling the gaps that you perhaps don't have in your own business with other partners, and I think that's really solid. And really, it's exciting to hear about the real-life innovations highlighted here, confirming that this journey is actually on its way to a robust digital financial system that can reach all corners and all people of the world. It's really clear that partnerships with mobile money providers, financial service providers, agribusinesses, and other ecosystem players is more important now than ever, and that partnerships are key to a sustainable financial inclusion. So thank you so much to all of you. Thank you for joining us today, and have a great rest of your day, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.